Live. The Hangout on air is live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Four Reels Radio, episode 2 of our actual, show thing we do. Welcome to the podcast, motherfuckers. Today we're doing, if you can read in the description below, Injustice Volume. Actually, not doing Volume 1. We're doing all of Year 1, because we start with Volume 1. We're like, that's like 16 issues. Fuck that. All of Year 1, right here, right now. With me today is Nate. Your thing's up first. Say hello.
Hi. Good to be back.
And how are you today?
I'm doing good. I'm getting ready to talk about Injustice. If you haven't read it, there will be spoilers.
Oh, we're doing the whole fucking book. Spoiler alert, Superman explodes. He's actually a kitten in disguise. All right.
No, he's not. He's
that's
a
the Injustice.
werepig. He's a werepig.
He's a werepig, and Doomsday's going to fry him up, and that's the Injustice. It's teaching you how you should be a vegetarian. That's really what Injustice is all
Actually,
about.
a combined DC and PETA venture.
Oh, God.
It's like that Pokemon one that they did with PETA.
Oh, God.
All right.
Anyway, joining us also
As
is...
well, yeah. I'm the host, motherfucker.
I know you are.
You
Anyway.
had your chance. Tom, say hello.
Hi, Internet. How you doing? I'm Tom, ready to talk all about Injustice, which, as a lot of people will tell you, as a comic, has no business being as good as it is. Like, really.
It's good.
It's
It's
really
popular.
good. It's really good, y'all. All right.
There you go.
All
That's
right,
the
so here's
podcast. Good night.
Tom, lower your camera a little bit. I want to see your beautiful face. All right, so
ready? Oh.
I can, but it's like I'm above your head, so it's like I'm seeing everything above you. I'm just waiting for like a fly to come above your head. It's like you have a halo. Now you're there. I can
Put on
see
like
you.
a Willy Wonka hat. Just...
That's what I'm saying. You don't have a big enough hat to do the camera angle you had. All right.
Not yet, anyway. Not yet.
Anyway.
Un grand chapeau. All right, so as most people know, Injustice was sort of a joint venture with the video game after Warner Brothers had bought NetherRealm Studios and was like, hey, you guys, you are like in charge of DC's video game sort of look outside of the, Batman Arkham Asylum and, the good games. So they did, first it was, what was it, Mortal Kombat versus DC, which was
Yeah.
Did you like Mortal Kombat, but hated the fatalities? That no one ever?
Exactly. I don't know, who wanted that game, but it came out. I think it got pretty shitty reviews. I played it.
Yeah.
It was alright, but it wasn't like...
The
it was like,
concept
okay.
is just bad fan fiction. It's just bad fan fiction.
Especially since, there's no personality to really anybody in Mortal Kombat except, I beat you up this much. I beat you up.
You can go and watch the new Mortal Kombat that just came out, dude. Watch the video. It's a movie.
Dude, we are going to get so much hate from, our, 25 people, and, 4 of them who actually...
Are they all hardcore Mortal Kombat fans?
Hey, man.
Dude, Mortal Kombat has a great lore.
There is...
I suppose, but, I don't know.
Tom, I'm going to send you the cracked video where they make fun of how much lore Mortal Kombat has. Because it's kind of amazing.
Okay.
Anyway, so, Injustice.
Either way, the Mortal Kombat universe is not ready to fuck with Superman. No one ever asked who would win, Sub-Zero or Superman. We know the answer. One has heat vision, the other one throws snowballs. Okay? Now, in the Mortal Kombat game, throwing snowballs is actually pretty effective. You can do some shit, but Superman has heat vision. He has all the moves. He really, they were just... You can tell back in the 60s, they're like, just give him a new power every week, and I'm sure they've lost some to time.
This is back in the Jungle Planets era.
Exactly. Did anybody even remember he had frost breath? Remember when that was a thing?
It's still, it comes back when they remember.
It comes and goes, exactly.
Okay. I've since changed in my view of Superman. For the longest time, I hated Superman as a character because he had everything. If someone told me that his farts cured cancer, I would be like, yep, yeah, so, and he has 2 weaknesses, because Tom will never let me forget the second one.
You're damn right.
He has kryptonite, and he has magic. But no one remembers number 2.
No, that's the thing. In year 2 of Injustice, everyone remembers number 2, and number 2 is actually one that comes up more often nowadays because there's so many magic heroes in the DC universe.
That is true. That doesn't make sense.
So yeah, Injustice was a video game. No, first it was DC versus Mortal Kombat, which was whatever, and then they said, okay, we're going to make just a DC game, and we're going to actually do it right, and the game is actually pretty good, but it didn't get as much hype as this comic did. Tom, you're our bookkeeper on all this. I just read the shit. Who's our artists? Who's our authors? Who's the main players? Do you know anything about this thing or no?
Well, I mean, there's a rotating crew of artists because the thing about Injustice, which is why we're talking about a year of it instead of a volume, is that this is a weekly digital series with new chapters coming out for like 99 cents every, I think, Monday. That might have changed. But there's tons of different artists. People like Kevin McGuire, guy who did Justice League International. Just loads upon loads of people. But it's all written by this Australian guy named Tom Taylor, who you might know from he's done some stuff with Wolverine. He does some creator-owned stuff. But Injustice is primarily his big ticket as far as like superhero comics goes. And he's been the consistent writer for like all 4 years this has been going.
I think so. I think he just quit or something. I was reading about it, but I'm not entirely sure. And we're not here to talk about the comic industry. We're here to talk about the books. I mean, because I don't know the comic industry. You can start your own podcast when you're ready.
But yeah, so that's it. You got one writer, a rotating crew of artists, all delivering about 12-page chapters, just about
like that,
12-page chapters on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
So.
It was more than I thought when you initially told me how short the chapters were. I think you very much undersold it because you're like, they're like 6 pages. So then I was like reading through it, and then I'm like, oh, this is longer than I thought. And then it was like, then you get used to it though. They are very short chapters.
And it's a very quick read, in my opinion. I mean, I accidentally spent an hour reading through all 3 years. It's like, how did I accidentally do that? Any other comic, it's like, okay, I'm sitting down, I'm focusing through this, I'm not going to get bored. This one was like, oh shit, what happened?
Yeah. And it's
it's basically a web comic because I mean it is because it's digital, but like it keeps you going. You're like, what the heck is happening? And then boom, you've lost an hour and haven't eaten food.
Well, and like Kyle asked me when we were like during the week, he was like, oh, like it was like Thursday or something. He's like, oh, where are you at? And I'm like, oh, I made it up to issue 25. Like I'm gonna take a break, do some other stuff, and then I'm gonna go like finish it maybe on Friday, so I'll be good for Saturday. And then it was like, I was sat there and I was like, I only have like 11 more issues to go. Let's go. Like let's just finish these all. And that took me like maybe 25 minutes because it's just
exactly
just speed through. So it's not like you have to like sit down and invest a huge amount of time in this. But anyway, so the story.
Let's shoot down the story. So it opens up. We got Clark Kent and Lois sitting in bed, and that thing we always asked on the playground when we were 16 is like, if Superman has sex, what happens? And sure enough, it's normal shit. Lois is preggers. I mean, am I the only one who had that conversation on the playground? Because that was the thing. It's like, what happened?
I mean, I think we were all thinking it, but
okay, I was the only one stupid enough to say it.
Probably, maybe.
I liked how that scene like was written and played out, where he figures out by hearing the heartbeat.
Yeah, that was really nice. Honestly.
Well, it's like but Superman has like a plethora of powers. Like, and with having like the hearing one be where he's like, and it was almost like he's sleeping, and suddenly he hears something slightly different, and then he realizes what it is. So, and I like how he goes straight from like happy that like Lois is pregnant into like planning like moving out of Metropolis, going to somewhere else. She even like hits him with like a book or whatever, and says like, I'm glad that our kid has, his high school picked out, but would you mind, like, talking to me? That was a nice touch.
Yeah.
It was cute as hell. And the whole thing, like, where he goes to Batman immediately, and it's like, will you be the Godfather? And, like, he's like, yeah, I know, she's pregnant.
I love Batman's response to that. He's like, I need to tell you something. Lois is pregnant. How did you know? Well, your hands are shaking and your eyes are dilated, and that hasn't been the last time you were like that was Doomsday was back. So it's either Lois is pregnant or Doomsday is back, and I'm pretty sure it's not Doomsday.
Because you're grinning like an idiot.
Yeah, exactly. It was just,
the dialogue in this thing is like, and again, I don't do too much with the pop culture world. Like I'm not, I don't get enough time to, like, watch movies and stuff like that. But like this reminded me like why comic books can be like so good, because this was like Avengers quality, like jabby, pokey dialogue. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was very
snappy.
back and forth. Yeah, we're people. It's funny. We're quick-witted, and it's like you're picking up on the jokes, and they feel like very lived-in characters. Batman does have his grim, dark moments in this one, but it's not a broody. Oh my god! And like look at the cover, you think that like, oh my god, this is going to be super dark, but it's like they managed to have Game of Thrones level, killing of major characters, while also keeping it nice, like, enjoyable. You can giggle sometimes.
Yeah, there's a very good sense of balance, which is really important and sort of, helps elevate this above, the core premise of this, which I think is a good thing.
Well, and that's like the thing you need. You need to have moments of light if you're going to have a very dark story. Otherwise, it turns into the ever-present, no one is allowed to have good things. Like, no one is allowed to be happy. This is why we can't have good things, a la Attack on Titan and Battlestar Galactica. No one's ever allowed to be...
become.
What do you say?
And what Walking Dead has become. I'm sorry, the finale sucked. We'll get that another day.
Okay. That's a lot of catching up for me to do. But it's like, if you just have this thing of, like, grim dark and no one's allowed to be happy, then at some point, I personally look at it and go, I see very little reason to be invested anymore. The light parts make the darker parts accented.
Yep. Yeah,
Speaking of darker parts, what happens immediately after this scene?
Oh.
We have Jimmy Olsen being executed by the Joker on like page 9 of this.
Oh,
yeah. So Lois and Jimmy are gonna go to I don't know, see some
city. They got like a tip or something, yeah.
Yeah, a city official's gonna get a payoff on the docks, and then like they don't know what's going on, but Jimmy's there, and then it turns out the Joker totally just shoots Jimmy in the back of the head and kills him on page 8. So,
no, not back of the head. He's aiming the camera at Joker. He puts the gun to the camera lens and takes him out. And then we open the next issue with Superman finding Jimmy Olsen's dead body, and we're like, okay, that's scary. The thing about it is like the Joker's not the scary one in this at all. It's Superman. It's like a guy with a big dog, and he's like, I'll let him get you. I'll let him get you.
And this isn't so. The Joker's doing things. There was some sort of refresh my memory. Did Batman know the Joker was in Metropolis at that time?
I think he did. Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure, but it doesn't stay that relevant. But it doesn't matter because he's going to get the blame anyway.
The whole thing is that there's a side bit involving Joker and because everyone thinks Joker's trying to like steal a nuke or something. So. Because Joker does all this stuff. He runs away in like a submarine, which Harley Quinn names Gunter. Which,
well, of course, why wouldn't you?
What was awesome, and I love how I think it's like
Green Lantern. She has a line about how like I've always wanted to have a submarine.
Yeah, well, and she named it, and then there's like a thing where like I think it's Green Lantern keeps telling her she's like, its name is Gunter. And he's like, that's a horrible name for a submarine. And then she keeps bringing it up, and every time it comes up, that's what he says. But
all right, so just get back to the story. So Clark, if you need to like do something, sit me in the chat, and I'll shut my mouth.
No,
otherwise I'm going to keep the progression. No, it's cool.
I was going to elaborate on it.
Oh, go ahead.
Because it's like, okay, so Joker, everyone thinks is like stealing a nuke. Turns out he's not. But while they're chasing the Joker and on this chase by the submarine, Superman suddenly sees Doomsday.
Oh, hold up. Now I gotta go back a little bit. So he does steal the nuke. That's the thing, and he plants it in Metropolis.
Yep.
Oh,
so he does that. Also, and then the whole thing is that Batman, knowing that Clark is on the edge at this point, he starts sending a APB to all the other Justice League folks like, hey, there's this random chick out there named Lois Lane who I know none of you know anything about, and she's just a random person. Don't worry about it. But she's one of us, so she's a big deal. And it's like, okay, everyone trusts them. That's cool. Yeah. So eventually someone finds something. They lasso with truth, one of the random villains. It's like, it's a big deal. We're not joking around here. That leads them to the submarine. Well, he's on the submarine. That's when Joker pulls out the kryptonite-infused scarecrow toxin, if I'm correct, Tom.
Yes.
Yes, you are correct.
And to Superman's perception, Doomsday suddenly shows up. So he's like, oh crap, save the city, save Lois, save future baby, bring Doomsday out to space to get him out of here.
Yeah, and he's punching Doomsday the whole way up, by the way. So
I'm gonna punch you into space.
Yeah, and then what happens is, I believe is it Wonder Woman or Batman that bursts in and figures out about the fear toxin, beats it out of Joker and Harley, and then they radio they radio Superman and tell him, Clark,
I gotta take a call. I'll talk to you guys back in a second.
Just put it in chat next time. All right. So yeah, you're right. It's
So basically, Clark that's not Doomsday out there. It's Lois, and then while Superman's in space, that sort of gets the gas out of him, and he realizes what he's done, and there's just Lois Lane dead in his arms.
I admit, like, from like a, I always play the devil's advocate. From like a critical perspective, it's like, okay, so you heard the two heartbeats, but this time you didn't, and you didn't realize it was Doomsday, and he just showed up randomly in a submarine. But I will forgive it, because what comes after that is you need a premise this stupid to come up with the shit show that is the rest of it. I mean, like, if you look at like real history, like World War II and shit, it's like, wow, that really started over a dead president or something like that. It's like, one bullet, one stupid thing can lead to all kinds of hell, and that is what happens here.
Yeah, exactly. And to be fair, everything we've talked about up to this point has taken place, like, that also is how the game starts too. So their hands were probably tied.
Well, actually, that's one of the big misconceptions. I haven't played through the game, but I've watched the whole storyline. What happens is this world is a alternate reality. That is, they have free reign to do whatever they want here. And what happens in the end, in year 5, I'm going to spoil all the way to year 5 because it's already in the game. It's already in the game.
Yeah.
It's where the game starts. The game starts in year 5, where Batman finally says, screw it, I can't win, and he calls an alternate dimension version of himself and Superman to come in and save this world.
Right. That, I thought you were going to spoil like major plot points.
No. That's how the game begins. Is Batman's like, we're losing here. I'm losing people. That's why Green Arrow's in the game, but we'll find out what happens to him.
Yeah, but things happen later. Yeah.
Exactly.
Sorry about that. Anyway, I'm back now.
It's cool. I can see you. So the next thing is the Batman interrogating Joker scene for what we find out later will be the last time. And Joker's, I think his basic excuse was, it got too hard beating you, so I wanted something easier.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's one of those things where, like, not even that it got too hard. I feel like the Joker is almost like it got predictable.
Yeah.
Like, it's a dance. You know what's going to happen. Punch, fight, I go to Arkham, kind of thing. But he's like, what do you do when someone has that much power? And I just royally mess with him. And what does he do there? Because, like, Batman's Batman, but at the end of the day, Batman has tools and detective skills and his fighting ability. Superman is a god. Like, and how does that affect someone?
Right. And then, Superman bursts in the interrogation room, grabs Joker. I think there's a conversation for a little bit, but basically, the Joker.
I'd like to correct you. No, there's no conversation. Everything that we hear in that is in their head. It's all speech bubbles.
Right. Okay,
Superman walks in there. No, you're good, but it's like it's part of what happens. Busts through the wall. Batman's thinking, like, what's going on here? And it's in green text and black text because it's a conversation between Joker and Batman that happened before, predicting what's about to happen.
Well, because it's an argument about Superman, and Batman keeps holding this Superman is a better man than I am. He's a better man than I am. He'll take the better route. He wants to believe in the goodness of Superman, and Superman just comes in and just destroys and murders Joker
by punching him through the heart.
Fatality.
Yeah, essentially, yes. So, and Batman is just horrified at this, and
the art in this is amazing. They do such good expressions because you need a lot of feeling to do this comic right, and the artists, all of them, but there's so much expression in these faces. If you guys have it open, please go to that scene and just look at Batman's face. Like, it is gorgeous.
I'm looking at it now. Oh, another thing to note too is the fact that I don't know if you talked about this, but while Superman's on his way, Green Lantern tries to slow him down or stop him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Green Lantern's like, hey, you're not thinking correctly, you're not thinking clearly, like, let's calm down, take a deep breath, and Superman just takes the Green Lantern ring off of his finger,
and he crushes it.
No, he takes the earpiece out and
he
crushes
takes the earpiece out and crushes it, and he doesn't, like, kill Green Lantern, he just takes the ring off and sets him down on the ground and is like, alright, I'm going.
Yeah, I checked that twice, but no, he keeps the ring for a little bit longer. So the next thing after that is, well, actually, mind you, this is all at issue 4, and this is why I love this comic. These are like 12 pages. We're only on issue 4, and already Jimmy's dead, Lois Lane is dead, the Joker's been fatalitied. Like, it's basically civil war in the the DC universe, which is, I mean, and it's this quick. The next scene is what I think, like, this is what got me into it, is seeing the screen caps from this part, is the Harley Quinn and Green Arrow interactions.
Oh yeah, they're so great together. Honestly, basically, I forget how, but Green Arrow captures Harley, takes her back to the Arrow Cave, and Harley's just taking the piss out of her the whole time. Like, wait, really? The Arrow Cave?
Wouldn't the Quiver be a better name? And he's like, no, actually, that's actually a pretty good name.
Well, even before that, there's the what he does is she's being taken prisoner. She's just going to be she's in the back of a police car. That's does the Harley Quinn thing, breaks free, kills the cop, runs out, and then tries to go back to her base to get her stuff back. There, she has a quick little battle where she hits him in the head with a squeaky hammer. And then the entire time she's in the battle, she's like, "You're cool. I like you. You're cool." And it's like, that's just such a nice way to see like their interactions. Like, she's not evil, and like that's the thing I like that they do with Harley is like she's not evil. She's not a big scary villain. She's a henchman, the best kind of henchman.
Well, and they even have a part where she says, like, her and Green Arrow are talking, and she's like, "Oh, I would do that, but that was me and Mr. J's thing," and like, I know he wasn't the greatest guy, and Green Arrow's like, "You mean, like, sociopathic murderer?" And she's like, "But he was mine." And it's like, it's just kind of, she's just someone who's got very comfortable with where she's been.
And I want to talk for a second about, now we should note that nobody is wearing their traditional costume in this. They're all wearing the designs they were given
for the game.
And in Harley's case, she doesn't have, like, the highlights in her hair or anything like she's going to have in the Suicide Squad movie, and nor is it, like, the Jester costume that all of us remember from the cartoon, but, she has something sort of like that with, like, a ruffled collar and, like, blonde
halfway in
hair
between.
And all that. Yeah, and it's a nice look. It really is, because, it just sort of reinforces, like, how sort of goofy she kind of is at the heart of it, which, I thought that was really nice, so...
It's not a ridiculous costume. It's a legitimate, and it's of course because it's a comic book completely over sexualized, but they're all done. I mean, Superman literally like there's some scenes with the Flash's ass is like right in the middle of the camera, and it's like it is a very you are reading a DC comic. This is not Marvel. This is not a normal Batman. This is a superhero comic, and that's what you're going to get.
Yeah.
So we skip ahead a couple weeks, I think it is, and
Super Stubble.
Yep. Superman has a beard.
He has a spot of clock shadow.
Yeah. This is Hangover Superman.
Basically.
So if you liked evil drunk Superman and Superman 3, here you go.
Let's say this is after that and before Casual Friday Superman that they had in the comics a number of months ago when he was just wearing a T-shirt.
Yeah.
But so we have Stubble Superman, who's just on like a rock somewhere, like, and news feeds or whatever are coming to him.
It's a Fortress of Solitude.
Okay, I didn't know if it was the Fortress or not, because it was just like, yeah, it's hard for me to tell. But I guess I see that in the one panel now. And, there's all these bad things, and there's this war zone. And Superman decides that, I lost a loved one, so now no one's ever going to lose a loved one to any sort of violence, and is going to go stop that vaguely Middle Eastern dictator from...
There's one that's literally called, like, Karak or something.
Oh,
like they are like
Kondak, yeah.
that was the first
Kondak.
one, but no, later on there are so many like fake little like countries.
Correct. Qurac.
Well,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah,
that's because this is DC, where everyone lives
Metropolis and
in made up places. This is not
Made-
Marvel,
made-
where everyone lives in New York.
Except
well, we
for
didn't
that
even
one.
establish that, dude. So he takes Lois up to space, blows her up. No, he kills her. When her heart stops, it sets off a nuclear detonator that blows up all of Metropolis. An entire New York-sized city is wiped off the map. Now, this comes into play later where you realize, like, wow, like, not only did that, Superman had to deal with Metropolis, but it's like there were villains who stayed there. That was where Lex Luthor was at. Now, not being big Superman people, I don't really know anybody but Lois and Clark and Lex, I guess. But
Well-
they go on later in the comic and say, like, a lot. You don't like this is New York disappears tomorrow. Like this is a big Earth-changing event. So Superman makes a little bit more sense later when you realize
Well,
there's
it's,
a war.
It's the 1-2 punch because Superman loses his bride and his future kid at his own hands, accidentally, but they're still at his own hands. And then it's the city that he's sworn to protect.
They call it his home. It's his home.
It's his home. So you lose the two people who sort of made your home, and you lose the actual place. So like, yeah, he's in his Fortress of Solitude because in a way that's all Superman has now is, in the way of home, is the Fortress of Solitude.
Yeah.
All right, so go on a little bit. He does his little dictatory, grabs Saddam by the collar, grabs Osama by the collar, and goes, kiss and make up. This entire time, Wonder Woman is like, "Fuck yeah, that's awesome!"
No. First off, okay. I think we are all in agreement that we don't like Wonder Woman in this. She's awful. But
I can't wait to get to the examples. Yes, continue.
Yes, but at this point, Wonder Woman is at least kind of level-headed.
Yeah.
Because like Superman's gonna say something, and someone's recording it on a phone, and he's like, "Oh, there are cameras. I have things I have to say." And then she's like, "Are you planning on telling it to the world?" And he's like, "Yes." And she's like, "Okay, if we're gonna do that, there's a way we do that. Like, let's talk at the UN tomorrow. Don't
She
just
does call a press conference. Yeah.
Yeah. She's
there's a way you do this. In which case, press conference at UN. Superman reveals, surprise! I'm Clark Kent, and I am sad.
And that's enough for the United States government to start going, hey, if he's going to overthrow, governments, we might need to worry about this. So the next move is the president. Oh, go ahead.
Correction. It's not that just as he's sad, he's like, okay, no one's allowed to fight. If you fight, I am going to stop you. Which, the U.S. military is a little bit less than keen on.
Yeah. So, and again, it's injustice gods among us. It's what happens when these people who are basically gods start telling people what to do, and that's what Superman has begun doing. So he comes up with this brilliant plan to have some C tier, I guess. I don't know anything about Mirror Master.
Yeah, Mirror Master, yep.
And that's the rarity of issue 7, I think it is them just being kidnapped. And
Clark's parents,
It's what were you thinking? What the hell were you thinking?
That is there's a lot of bad decisions made in this series, but that's the dumbest. Like, the most powerful being on Earth just declared a new manifesto. I know. Now that we know who he is, let's kidnap his parents. That'll go over well.
Well, and it's one of those things where it's like, other members of the Justice League you could have maybe done that with. Like, you want to kidnap? Well, Batman doesn't have parents. But like...
God damn it, that was low.
I seriously did not think about that before I made it. But like, for instance, like, okay, like, Cyborg, the Flash, Green Lantern. You couldn't kidnap their loved ones because they have powers, and significant ones, or resources, but this is not Superman. So it's 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 a different level and therefore a really stupid decision.
Yep.
Insert Justice League Manhunt for
where they go to, I don't remember the name of the place, but they go to like basically the villain hangout, the Mos Eisley of villains.
Yeah.
It turns out the
grab a
Cantina Band is
villain.
just in minor. Just playing
Exactly.
songs in a minor key. Anyway.
The Batman goes and talks to the president. He's like, Mr. President, you're an idiot. But I'll help you not be so stupid. Batman basically joins forces with the government on this side. He's going to be your Iron Man stand-in for this version of Civil War.
Mm-hmm.
And Soup finds his parents. I don't think they kill Mirror Man, if I'm correct.
No, they don't kill him, no.
Yeah. And that's like, okay, so you think it's going to start calming down for a minute. Then this is where, is it issue 9? Yes, it looks like issue 9, where Wonder Woman goes into full jerk face mode.
This is the downward spiral. This is just, because it turns out Wonder Woman is totally okay with this, like, nobody fights war anymore. And, therefore we're stopping all conflicts. Which on some level, I'm like, you know what, I get it. But at the same time, like, how they go about it is so awful.
Oh, yeah.
In this issue, she's literally talking to Ares, the god of war, and fighting him.
Yep, I'm telling him, nope, you're not going to do this anymore.
And in the world we're creating, you're going to be powerless. So she starts taunting him and it's like, haha, you're going to be the god of ponies or something like that.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Which is a great line, let's be honest.
Yeah. Ares with his little, like, gaudy power is sort of, like, predicting what's happening, and he's like, hold on now. Are you trying to get with Clark? Are you trying to get with Superman? And he realizes that, like, this is probably an absolutely horrible idea for those two people to have a union and make a thing. Yeah. And Wonder Woman says, like, hey, he's like, are you going to take a spot in his bed? And she's like, I'll be whatever he needs me to be. And it's like, man, I thought Wonder Woman had, like, a little bit more character.
Wonder Woman, her superpower is enabling. In this book, it's kind of true, and like this to me was one of the big things. Well, this is the beginning of the downward slope of Wonder Woman is just awful, and she just like outright stabs and cuts off the hands of Ares and like stabs him through the heart. And Superman's a little bit like freaked out by this, and is like, did you just kill him? And she's like, oh no, gods are a lot harder to kill, but he'll be gone for a little while. It's okay, Superman. And I think this person who said he's gonna just help Superman being so okay with just like, let's just stab and murder things, just struck me as strange at times.
It gets worse. All right, so just to keep it moving. And again, if you guys ever want to chime in, like just throw it in the chat. I'll stop immediately.
Gotcha.
But I'm looking at like how far we've got to go. We've got a long way to go in this story.
We do.
So the next thing that happens is Clark visits the Bat family. They ignore They ignore Tim Drake. They ignore Jason Todd. But Dick Grayson is here as Nightwing, and Damian is here as Robin, and Superman and Batman have their little, screw you too, I'm right, why aren't you helping me thing. Superman's like, you're a pretty shitty father, and Batman's like, at least I am a father.
Things that should not be said.
Punches Superman in the face, and then Superman's like, let me see your hand. You broke this finger, it's going to take a couple weeks, stop it. And it's sort of and Superman's like, hey, I killed one guy, chill. And it's like, it always starts as one, and then we see this nice little parallel where we see, generic Japanese whaling boats pissing off Aquaman by gathering more than one whale.
Yeah.
Wonder Woman shows up, says, hey, you're not going to fight these ships because there's no war.
Well, it's not even just that Aquaman wants to fight the ships. He is calling on, like, the might of Atlantis to come up here and fight these ships. And then they're like, hey, we said no war. And he's like, that's fine on land. I own the water.
And Aquaman has a great speech where he basically says, you have, I control, I am the ruler of the world. You aren't. I control most of the world.
You float on me.
Yeah. Basically, Aquaman's just like, talk shit, get hit, essentially. And it's,
yes.
That is actually probably the best like TLDR version of that speech. Talk shit, get hit. But
Which it comes out as awesome, and then you're like sitting here like, holy shit, Aquaman's kind of cool. I can't wait for Jason Momoa to show up. And then Superman shows up.
well,
Yep.
and the thing is, it's like, yeah, the other Justice League are trying to do it, and then Superman's going there, and he gets super mad, and goes there, and
He, Shazam, and I think Green Lantern go
Yeah.
like, okay, yeah, you're attacking us. You don't understand. Like, we have the cheat codes. We win this fight. They lift Atlantis out of the ocean, put it in like the middle of the Sahara Desert, and they're like, you know, you have like 5 hours until this entire thing overheats and everyone dies. So are we gonna negotiate peace here or what? And Aquaman gets punked.
yeah, basically it's like, well, I gotta save my people, because like Aquaman was ready to like barricade every port city in the world, but if you threaten Atlantis, Aquaman's like, okay, let's all chill out now.
Which is kind of funny. You think like, okay, if they pick up Atlantis, like, why is not everyone's swimming out? Like, is there not a door? But either way, the idea gets there, and it's like, hey, you don't understand. Superman will like literally just boil the oceans for 5 seconds, 0 fucks given. Um, you're not winning this one. Then we get, again, the best part of this is the war's going on, and the war is interesting, and the war is going to have like these major moments, and it's good. But like the best part about it to me is what everyone else is doing while these big battles are going on. And we get that Flash scene where he's running through Australia, and he reflects on the protests they broke up. Anybody else want to hit this one, or do you want me to keep going? Because I like the scene, but I don't want to steal it.
Yeah, I can talk about it. Basically,
Go for it.
and I should mention that this is one of the moments where, like, knowing that writer Tom Taylor is Australian really helped reinforce this a bit, because the Flash is running down essentially the world's longest stretch of uninterrupted road, and he basically reflects on, there was this protest we broke up where a bunch of activists they pumped this guy full of like drugs or something, gave him a super suit and told him, your name's Galaxor now, go beat up Superman.
He came up with that himself.
Yeah, they're like,
Right.
why'd you do Galaxor? He came up with that himself. We didn't exactly pick him for his brains. And they're like, why did you pick him? Like later on when the Flash.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. But
anyway,
so this Galaxor guy tries to stand up to, I believe it's Superman and Wonder Woman, and they're just like,
Or breaking up a protest, yes.
Yeah, and they're just like, nope, and they beat him up.
We were talking about this before we started. It's not even so much that they beat him up. It's that they pick him up. You see this like terror look in his eyes, and they like destroy his back. Like he's thrown to the ground, and he is toast.
Again, this is sort of like Flash being the moral compass of this entire thing, sort of. Like, I didn't like the Flash. I didn't know anything about the Flash before reading this comic, and it's like him and Green Arrow ended up being some of like, my favorite characters. I actually want to go and read their stuff if they're written similarly, because he's reflecting on this moment. He's like, I didn't realize like the Flash is like super intelligence because he's thinking as fast as he's running, and he talks about like I could have acted 10 times as each one of his 10 vertebrae cracked. And I couldn't do the plus minus thing to figure out if I was going to get my ass kicked if I intervened or not. And it's like he's stuck there just watching what's happening and like powerless to act. And it's a really important moment. And then Tom, if you want to go on like why it becomes even more important.
No, go ahead.
Okay, well I'll do it then. He goes to he gets a message I think from Bats saying, hey, go to this warehouse or faculty or whatever building it is, and he finds out that this kid was a huge fan of superheroes. This is like his thing. He wanted to be a superhero because he loves superheroes. And his superheroes aren't really superheroes anymore. They're vengeful gods who slam down people who don't agree with them. So he has like a picture of him and Flash like shaking hands back when he was a kid, and it's like, anyone can be a superhero, Jimmy. And then, you know, his heroes stand on, you know, that guy stands beside him as he's being slammed into the ground. It's just sort of like a, you know, what is it? All that it takes for evil to win is for good men to do nothing. And Flash is like, I really can't think of anything I can do, so I'm going to do nothing.
Well, I like how it closes too, because after being confronted with this like horror and like you met this kid and this isn't just some random person, and yeah, you could have done something. He talks about how he's running on that like longest stretch of highway in the world, and he's like, I usually come out here when I want to think. Now I don't want to let myself think. I just want to run. Like just running away from having to face, you know, what has happened. It was a very good moment.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so issue 14, Batman wakes up and they have this sort of like like foreshadowing where he talks about he had this dream and there's a kid screaming and then my son is dead and so on and so forth. And you don't really go too deep into it. The scene where Batman's now running around Gotham kicking everyone's ass. He throws like Two-Face into prison almost immediately. Like he's just like the song and dance with Batman of fight off my henchmen. It's like no, he walks up. Two-Face flips a coin to see if it's heads or tails on which anchor he's going to kill. He melts the coin in midair, and Two-Face is like, "Wait, I didn't get to see it land. Like, who was I supposed to kill? What's supposed to happen?" And Superman's like, "No, we're not playing that game. This is not going to be a fun story. It's sort of like I know how comics work, and I'm not playing comics anymore. This is a world I'm protecting."
Mm-hmm.
And as a reader, that's super interesting. Damian starts bitching. Go ahead.
It's the world he's protecting, but it's a world he's protecting with an iron fist.
Yeah.
Which is Batman's complaint with it is like you're not protecting the world anymore. You're making the world bend to your will. There's a difference, and Damian's always been he's Bruce Wayne's son, but he was raised by like the League of Assassins, so he's always been more of along the lines of like, well, let's just kill the bad people so they'll stop doing bad things. So Superman shows up at Arkham and is like, we're taking everyone out of here to go to another like facility of our choosing. And Damian's like, yeah, screw those guys. That's a good thing to do. Why are we not helping them?
Yeah, and we should mention that while Damian Wayne is normally like 10 years old, here I think he's like 13, right? 13 or 14.
I think he's about like 15 because he's about 20 in the books. So I mean, in the game, because like,
right. Okay.
So he's got to be about 15. But yeah, he's definitely older than he is in the books. This is an alternate reality, definitely.
Yeah.
All right, so Batman makes his way to Arkham with Nightwing, and there's like the nice little back and forth between them. And reading this part again, if you get a chance, like I love Nightwing in this because he's like Adam West Batman meets James T. Kirk. It's like he's practical, he's cracking one-liners, like he's like, I understand where you're going from, but you gotta stop this grimdark shit. Like, you know how rude it is not to talk to someone when you can't think of an answer? Just admit it. And like, it's gorgeous. They get to Arkham, and you see Batman's Rogues Gallery. I think there's Mad Hatter, there's Mr. Zaz, there's Calendar Man, and they're all like sort of like they're all just like shooting quips at like the heroes as they come through because Superman's arrived with his full entourage, and it's like, no, you don't understand. You're Zaz. You're a guy with a knife. I'm Superman. You are irrelevant.
In the meantime, Harley Quinn got checked in by Green Arrow, broke a guard's nose.
Poor Kenan.
Yeah. Kenneth, how many times have I broken your nose? 3. I'm sorry. And she goes and decides that gonna cause chaos by freeing Solomon Grundy, crazy undead behemoth man.
She starts freeing everybody, and it's sort of like this is her getting revenge from Mr. J thing. So she starts freeing everyone, and then Batman's like, okay, this is accelerated too far. He shows up and he says, I think the first thing he does is he shuts down Cyborg, who was using his little interfacing thing to teleport everyone out of there.
Yeah. And he shuts down Cyborg with a computer virus, right? And he shuts down Cyborg with a computer virus, and then Cyborg, because some part of him is still active, he figures out what it is, and then he figures out that Batman installed the virus onto
That's later. Later.
No, it's right there. It's right there.
Yeah. He figures out Cyborg figures out that Batman installed the virus onto his system the day they met. And then
it's the same week they met.
Yeah.
So one of the big takeaways here is big gigantic fight. Superman has, gone with, the lovely encouraging of Wonder Woman, has gone full just murder bad people or take them away. Jumps through Solomon Grundy, all these different things happen.
Laces his arm off.
Yeah. Damian and Nightwing have already kind of had this kind of like, not adversarial, but competitive relationship at least.
Yeah.
And at one scene, I'm trying to think of what it is.
It's early when I talk about the Bat family, when Superman visits the Bat family, I think is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Well, there's that thing. And then it's like, Nightwing tries to stop Damian from going too far and beating up on people. Nightwing says
He's beating the living shit out of the Riddler, is the scene that you're talking about.
And Nightwing's like, Robin doesn't beat people once they're down. Damian says, "You're not Robin anymore. Stop telling me what to do." Throws his nightstick, which hits Dick in the temple, and kills him.
Well, it doesn't kill him. It knocks him out because he talks earlier, and they're like, "Oh, he does this all the time. Don't worry about it." But it hits him in the head. He gets woozy, falls down, snaps his neck. It was an accident.
Oh yeah, the neck snaps. That's what it is. Well, it was, but Batman understandably loses it. So when
he gets very human very quickly. He starts running around. He's like, "What did you do? Get off!" He pushes his son off of his, adopted son. Well, and then there's like this. Go ahead.
Yeah, he's like, "What did you do? I didn't mean to." He's like, "Get off of him," and it ends with Batman holding Nightwing, and while prisoners and heroes stand on either side of them.
Mm-hmm.
Very dramatic scene. Just to keep it going forward.
Mm-hmm.
So the next scene, and I just love this one. They have Catwoman doing her little, robbing stuff, talking about how the big bad guys are, corporations and the super rich who keep the little man down, and so on and so forth. And Superman finds her, and she starts, using every trick she has to escape. She's throwing kryptonite rings and dunking into the sewers, and she thinks like she's dead because they've been killing criminals lately. And he goes, "No, I'm not here to kill you. I just need you to go talk to Bruce because he lost his fucking son." And I really like that scene because it's like, okay, Superman isn't completely gone yet. He can recognize when Robin dies. That's going to be a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And this might be, and as the book goes forward, you're saying like we're going to get less and less of that human side of Superman moving forward. Selena Kyle shows up to the Bat Mansion. She finds Alfred drunk off of his ass and Batman punching shit in the basement. It's like that's sort of like, we use the term Bat Family pretty loosely sometimes, like, oh yeah, Huntress and so on and so forth are all part of the Bat Family. But it's like this is the Bat Family has taken the L here, and Selena Kyle starts becoming basically the good den mother, the opposite of what Wonder Woman is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. She specifically says like, Bruce, you don't always have to be Batman. Like,
be Bruce right now, yeah.
And then they go talk to the president, and they start talking about like, how can we talk about making a team, because if Superman and the Justice League are going to keep doing this campaign of controlling who can and can't do what, we're going to need some people to maybe like act as a check for that. So they start recruiting people like Huntress, Captain Atom,
Black Lightning. Black Lightning, yeah.
Black Lightning.
Mm-hmm.
Who else is here? Oh, Batwoman, Aquaman.
A whole little sort of like subgroup.
Yeah, it's a counterpoint group, yeah.
Yep. Just gonna try to move through it a little bit fast because we're doing a full synopsis and it's getting a little bit tedious. They catch Shazam's villain, Black Adam, future age him real quick. Shoot, let me go back to the show notes.
Want to jump to where Lex shows up?
Absolutely. So, like we said earlier, Metropolis gets blown to shit. They start getting a signal from deep underneath. They find out it's Lex Luthor hidden in a base, and he joins Team Supes. Which isn't the only time that's happened. Tom, you're the bigger Superman fan. Lex and Super aren't like the entirely opposites, right? They've been friends. They've worked together before, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, they are opposed to each other a lot of the time, but like on occasions when stuff has been really bad, they've teamed up against it. Like when Doomsday showed up back in the '90s, they were allies. However tedious, but yeah, like this is one of those instances where. And that's what's interesting is Superman's reaction to finding out Lex is alive is they hug each other, and and Lex has this great line where he goes, I thought of ways to survive a nuclear, but I don't. He Supes and basically said, hey, I understand what you guys are trying to do, but you need to do this way. My people can help make this happen. and and so they set up this message at the UN. Actually, do we want to double back to what happens with Hawkgirl a second?
Oh, the long
It's
and
not
short
that
of
big into the plot thing. It's
long and short
they
of it
recruit
is,
Martian Manhunter to replace her.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And then Darkseid sends a minion to go invade Earth. Suddenly, both teams are
His
fighting.
firstborn son. He's a big major character. I had to look him up though because I had no clue who the fuck he was. That's how I felt reading this book a lot. It's like, oh, this is some big major. He's actually a big major character. Like I had no idea, but it's Darkseid's son, and he gets his ass whooped.
Yep, he sure does.
Yeah, and Superman gets the adulation of all the peoples.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So Superman has basically secured his position as King God of Earth, and Batman and his little alliance are pissed. And I think this is the spot where Batman has his little group together, and he finally admits, like, okay, I'm going to be honest with you guys. This isn't going how I planned it. He announces Huntress, I think, blows his cover and says, like, Bruce, what the hell are you doing? And everyone's like, Bruce? Who's Bruce?
She's like, oh yeah, there are people in this room who don't know your identity.
Exactly. Which is a pretty cool scene.
Team Soups is trying to make a super soldier serum so that they can have people that they trust guarding the world and making sure everyone stays in line. Made by Lex. Batman's team wants to stop that. And one of the things, because they know that Batman's trying to stop that, one of the things that Superman Squad tries to do is they try to put it out on what Batman's secret identity is. Batman blocks them, but then through the miracle of Twitter, because Cyborg is a computer, so bro, can you even Twitter? He puts out that Batman is Bruce Wayne. This is also in a universe where everyone believes everything said on Twitter.
Well, to be fair, that's kind of how things are. Because remember, Twitter's part of the reason we arrested the wrong people for the Boston Marathon bombings.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So.
All right. So they have a little bit more. Again, like I think the book is preachy, but I think it's preachy on like a good side because it's stuff I agree with. But there's that chess match between Superman and Flash, where Superman's like getting his plans together. He's like, I'm going to get rid of all guns because that's a good solution. It'll stop all violence. And what do you think, Barry? Because he really gives like Barry is like his that's Flash. He goes, Flash is like his second in command, and it's like, what do you think of that? Even though Wonder Woman is, it's like Flash is like his actual advisor because they can actually talk at super speed and stuff.
Flash is his equal in like intellect and his friend, like.
Exactly.
Wonder Woman is there as his second in command and his enabler, but Flash is his friend.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's just like a strategist because I like to demonize Superman as this horrible creature who doesn't have friends. But either way, they're having this match and he goes, "Well, if you want to stop death, stop cigarettes." And it's like, oh, and then if we stop cigarettes, then we're gonna, it's like, okay, go ahead, stop guns, then stop cigarettes, then stop people who have angry dogs.
Or people who don't recycle.
People who move too fast. Exactly. Yeah. Like this, he does a slippery slope argument, but it's actually kind of valid in this case because Superman really doesn't. He's not going to stop. He doesn't know how to stop. Can't stop. Won't stop. Rockefeller Records.
This shows that Superman's also not thinking things clearly. Superman doesn't have an end goal. Superman is purely just, I'm doing this because it makes sense. And Flash is like, no, think about like what that leads to. It's this to this to this, but not in the same way that like Batman. Batman's been saying this the entire time, but on a smaller level, Flash is getting through to him a little bit. Then there's a big fight. Martian Manhunter goes up against Superman and Wonder Woman, and yeah, Supes totally burns Martian Manhunter out of existence with his heat vision.
I didn't like the way they did it so quickly, but that's how they do things in this comic. It's very quick. It's like, hey, Martian Manhunter, this character you actually know, dead that quick, and it was brutal how they did it because it's like he's doing this whole thing. It's like, go ahead, Tom, interrupt me.
Oh no, I'm just saying it's very brutally drawn. It hurts, You may not know. You don't have to know a lot about Martian Manhunter to just. Right in the feelings. Oh.
And he has like this speech where he goes, yeah, we're both aliens. Neither of us belongs here, but they like you because you look like them, and it's like, damn, cold, John, cold.
Well, I think the thing is, he says it, but I think he also is mainly saying it to Wonder Woman, who is there, and he's like, "You always liked him better, Diana, even though we're both aliens, but he looks like you." He's saying it more to Wonder Woman, I think, than Superman. But
it's to the audience, and even then, it's yeah.
Well, so then they go up to there's a ploy to try to get Superman to kind of mislead him. So they go to this, I don't know, vault at the North Pole.
The Fortress of Solitude.
Is that where that is?
The fortress.
Yep.
I don't know if that was the fortress or not.
Yep.
Nope. Yep.
They go to the Fortress of Solitude.
It is because
This shows how bad I am at recognizing the fortress. And they have because Lex is with the Kents, and they're trying to he's trying to perfect this super soldier serum. And I liked how the Mom and Pa Kent
Mom and Pa Kent? I love it.
That's what they are. Were in this. Well, partially I'm going to admit because the bad taste in my mouth from how they are portrayed in the Batman v Superman movie, where Mom Kent literally says, "Hey, Clark, you know how people are mad at you and don't like you right now? I never thought you should help people anyway, so screw those guys." And then there is Ghost Costner playing
Ghost of Pa Kent.
Okay, it's Kevin Costner playing Clark's dad, but he's dead, so it's like a ghost. And then he's
Kal-El's dad.
Yeah,
yes.
no, not even Kal-El. He's playing whatever.
He's playing Pa Kent.
Pa Kent, who's and Superman's having this vision he's seeing of him or imagining, and Pa Kent's like, "Yeah, you have to believe in the good of people. Your mother was the one who made me believe in the good of people." And I'm like, you can't have a character say that screw all of humanity, be the one who made you believe in good. But that's a tangent. Here, the Kents are concerned that Superman is going too far. They're like, Clark doesn't need people to encourage him to do this. Clark is hurting. Clark needs a hug. He needs a therapist. He does not need somebody to design a super soldier serum for him, which I liked.
That definitely, for me, that reminded me of why it's, to me, an important element of Superman stories is when you have the Kents around to remind Superman of who he is. Right now in the comics and how it was for a long time, they're both dead, and that's really irritating because when you have the Kents around, you have, at least you have one set of parents that the most powerful being in the universe, if not just Earth, can interact with, and that reminds him of his humanity. And to me, this scene was a really good reminder of that. I loved it.
Well, it's a very well put scene. Sadly, so the grand ploy to get the serum away from Supes works half well. Captain Atom tries to fight Superman and beat him, takes him into space. Captain Atom dies. He was awesome. It is sad. And they end up getting the serum, but at the cost of one of our favorite superheroes with a funny beard, that is Green Arrow. He died. Say what?
So what?
It's beautifully done. I only when you thought that.
No, I know it's very well done. Yeah.
It's a very well written.
Because they had him.
Best scene.
Exactly. He has this little sort of inner monologue going while he's got Superman in front of him, and it's again, this is sort of my I love the guy on the ground view. Is I stand no chance. I am dead. How do I do this accurately? So he starts, firing shots to distract him. I think he shoots Pa Kent in the shoulder, and it's so anybody who is paying attention, it's Green Arrow doesn't miss. If he wanted to kill him, he'd have killed him. He's shooting him in the shoulder to take Superman off, so he's distracted while he shoots him. It shows that even in his last little sort of spot, he outsmarts Superman. His final play is to outsmart Superman, which is a pretty dope thing to do. And he fires the arrow over his shoulder and gets the pill to the good guys, including a sad canary.
It's true. Superman goes into a rage, beats the ever-loving crap out of him, and it's actually Ma Kent who took the super soldier serum who stops Superman and being like, no, Clark, like, calm down. Like, this has gone on long enough. And once, they learn that, Batman decides he's going to go to the Batcave because it's the only place that they can, figure out how to replicate the serum.
Mm-hmm.
Catwoman's like, no, he'll know you'll go there. And Batman's like, I'm counting on it.
Mm-hmm.
The Kents and Jor-El try to urge Superman to just let it go, to, like, stop what he's doing. Surprise, surprise, Supes does not want to do that. And then there's this great scene of the three of them, like, apologizing to each other and being like, I'm sorry, I thought we raised him better. I thought, like, we did a better job. Like, I wish this hadn't turned out this way.
They're mourning that they've pretty much lost their son. And, like, if you look at, like, the scene where, like, I mean, if I had told you in a normal comic, yeah, I remember that issue where Superman beat Green Arrow to death, you'd be like, wait, that's not Superman. And, like, we're finally at that point where, like, we can say, like, that's not the same guy anymore. And he did it because he shot his dad once. It's like, okay, you cannot cope with the idea of loss anymore. Like, Superman has officially snapped.
Your psyche is just so
yeah. So Batman's, doing the generic sort of video game style as defend the base mission in the Batcave, where he's first engineering using a computer the chemical structure of the pill. Mumbo jumbo for comic books, and he basically pulls like every stop except for using kryptonite. Not sure why.
Well, the thing is, I think it's interesting. He's not trying to fight him. He's not trying to fight Clark. He's trying to, like, appeal to his emotions. So there's, like, screens that show Clark's wedding, and he's like, he's like, answer me, Clark. Do you think she would appreciate the world, like, agree with the world you've created? And Clark's already too much in his own head, and he's like, yeah, I did everything for her, and because of what happened to her. And it's all just a matter of biding time. And then in a homage to the Bane, what's that storyline called?
Nightfall.
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 Superman breaks Batman's back. And then...
And see, like, I had a different opinion for saying he's, like, appealing to his emotions. I thought he was, like, trying to provoke him. Yeah, I'm going to lose this fight. I might even die, but hey, at least I'm going to get the serum done. And I was thinking, like, dude, you have kryptonite. Hannah, wizards. Why are you letting yourself get your ass kicked?
Well, it's buying time. And I think it does both. Because it tries to appeal to the emotions and hit him where he's the most hurt, which is emotionally. But it's also buying time. And then Superman starts torturing Batman by using his super yelling powers to make Superman feel awful. Or Batman feel awful.
Actually, no. It's Superman has his back. He has his foot on the back of Batman, and he's like, where did you, who has the serum? Tell me your plans. Tell me. And he's got his foot on the back of Superman, and it's like, hey, Clark, do you realize that you're torturing a man for information right now?
When you
like,
I want you to remember this moment when you resorted to torture for the greater good.
Exactly.
And then Clark has a moment of sitting back and being like, oh, I didn't mean to. And then Batman's like, you're not a hero, you're just a thug.
Tom, do you want to illustrate the almost last scene of the book?
No, go ahead.
We've been doing a lot of talking.
Nate, you seem like you were excited for it.
Take some, yeah. You seem excited. We've been talking a lot.
No, go ahead, guys.
Okay. Kyle, you...
Okay. Nate, let me do it. Fucking Alfred has snuck in over while this whole thing is going on, taken the super pill, and headbutts Superman so hard his nose spouts blood. Then proceeds to beat the living shit out of him for fucking with his play.
Yep, that's the moment.
Alfred is the Batman we want.
That's the moment we call him. Oh yeah, Alfred.
I was just gonna say that.
Oh yeah, Alfred.
In our show notes, is oh yeah, Alfred.
Because that's what it is, man. You don't get to my family anymore as he's beating the shit out of him. It's like you got to remember, like Alfred is like again that character that who doesn't have the who doesn't have as many, like, he's got so much skin in the game. He's super invested in what's going on, but he can't affect it at all. He's just sort of like,
Right.
what? It's like when you're playing a luck-based game and you're just watching the cards fall, and then
Mhm.
finally, like, you get to play something.
That's because Alfred's the emotional heart of the Bat family.
Oh yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
all he can do is help and try to treat the wounds. And he sees the damage done. And then, then Superman goes to the UN and basically says, Batman and his crew are terrorists. I'm going to save the world in whatever way that means.
Mm-hmm. So there you go. That's pretty much all of Injustice Year 1. We have the setup for the Civil War that's about to happen, and it seems like Superman's kind of already... Like, it's funny because in Year 1 he wins the war. Like, it's a guerrilla thing after this, because Batman's broken. He has no major heroes on his side. He's got, was the Birds of Prey and Catwoman. That's about it.
Yeah.
Aquaman's there, but he's like, it's sort of like he's like a ward. It's like, yeah, we'll destroy your entire city whenever we feel like it. So Aquaman can't do shit. Like, Superman wins the war in the first year, and we still got 4 more years to go.
Mm-hmm.
So I read this because I saw a Facebook post about it that were like, they just had the clips, and I'm like, wait a minute, where is this whole, the cigarette thing? Where's the whole, the quiver line? Like, there's some really good dialogue in this. I was like, where the hell is this book from? Because they always had different artists. And I'm like, DC doesn't do funny. DC doesn't do, serious. DC does generic superhero shit. And I was never a big DC fan. I figured, like, even the street level stuff, like Marvel does better with, Moon Knight and Wolverine and that kind of stuff. But, like, this comic, like, this got me to actually care about DC.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I got interested in it. And I was like, okay, let me... And I had seen people play the game. I'm like, I don't really care for Mortal Kombat games.
Mm-hmm.
But for me coming into this comic, it was like, oh my god, like, this is... I wish, like, the main DC continuity, instead of doing New 52s and Darkest Nights and stuff like that, would do something a little bit more dangerous like this. Nate, I made you read this, I think. No, I made Tom read it, too.
Well, you highly recommended it, and you suggested it as our next topic discussion thing. I had read part of it before, when it was in digital, and I kind of started reading it and stopped reading it. I enjoyed it. I think we're tentatively planning for next week's show to talk about the Civil War storyline in Marvel, because we've kind of done Image and now we're in DC and then we're going to Marvel. Both of those kind of fall into occasionally the problem of having it be that it's so hardcore and so much if we are so grim, but there's a lot of feeling in this and emotion, and because this is an alternate universe, there's a lot more room to play with.
Mm-hmm.
If characters are acting outside of what they normally act like, it's okay, that's because this is the Injustice universe.
Yeah.
This is not, regular Superman, freedom, justice, in the American way. This is this one.
The next 400 authors don't have to explain that we killed off John Jones,
Right.
You're not...
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what's interesting is because they have really, they were basically told, okay, here's the story of this game, portray the build-up to that. And they said okay, and they just took that to its logical conclusion. And like I said, like I think I was saying at the beginning of this has no business being as good as it does.
It should have came free in the box, and instead, I want to give this money.
Well,
yeah.
Let's look at it like you said, in the fact that so the game came out, and then there's this comic, and it may not have been actually the case. I don't know what goes on in DC's boardrooms and whatever. But if I had to guess, this was supposed to be the almost throwaway, sure, we'll try this, and this might get canceled after a couple months kind of thing. They thought
planned the first story was planned, the first 36 issues.
Yeah.
That was planned. The thing about it was that after it got bigger than the game, then they went, okay, let's retroactively call all of that year 1 and do 4 more years.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It got bigger than the game. The thing, which is why it was created, it grew past it, which shows a testament to the quality of the book.
Yeah, and this definitely shows that you can make a good story out of anything. This works really well. Like we've been saying, there's a lot of really choice dialogue. There's a lot of really nice art. And yeah, it gets you invested in some characters you maybe wouldn't have liked before. I'll admit I'm not the world's biggest authority on like Green Arrow necessarily. I've read a lot of Green
You
Arrow.
sure?
I'm not really.
You're the
I'm
biggest
not.
authority
Next week you
here.
will be.
But I'll say this. Like I could. I feel like this is the story I would give people who know Oliver Queen from like the TV show and just be like, no, this is more what Ollie's like, and they'd go like, oh, okay, but where are his abs?
I will have to say one of my favorite Green Arrow lines is Harley Quinn in Green Arrow, I think in like the Batmobile or something, and she's like,
It's
why
the
do you have a
Aeromobile.
yeah, it's like
Aeromobile,
or the Aeromobile. He's like, why do you have a boxing glove arrow? And he's like, because sometimes I want to punch someone who's really far away. Which was
I love the boxing glove arrow so much.
It's really willing to poke fun at itself, and like not because it's not pointing fun at itself. This is the comic that looks at other comics. This is a comic viewed from. I mean, this guy is obviously in the industry, but it's like he's able to look at the entire DC universe and go, yeah, that's going to be represented by Batman. That's going to be represented by the status quo and what's supposed to happen and the song and the dance. Catwoman talks about how it's like, oh, there's a song and dance for me and Batman go at it. We fight, we flirt. I spend a night at his house. I leave in the morning. And we meet up again. And Superman shows up and he's like, no, I'm grabbing you by the shoulder, and this is how it's going to work, and I'll break your back if we need to. So it's comics being attacked by non-comics almost in a way, and it's got all the death and there's no holds barred. You can get invested and hurt, and it's willing to make you feel emotions, which because it's not trying to play safe. There's no playing safe in this comic. It's not oh, this is going to be another one where Batman fights the Owl Gang and Damian loses a finger and that's all that happens, and now we've got to draw him with one less finger for the rest of the issues. It's like, no, we're going to go ahead and just kill Nightwing.
Yeah, that to me was like the biggest oh shit moment of year one, because like and there's a bit of a precedent to this. During the build-up to the DC event Infinite Crisis, which I don't want to talk about because it's long and it's weird, but basically one of the things that was supposed to happen in that was Nightwing was supposed to die, and then word of that got around onto the internet, and everyone was like, nope, we don't want this, and then they're like, okay, but this shows maybe, okay, here's a way to take Nightwing, here's a way to take Nightwing out that's respectful and also genuinely shocking. And that's
was that before or after he became a cop?
Before I think.
Are you talking about like current continuity? Because in current continuity, he's like a secret agent. He's not a cop.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I just saw Nightwing with a gun and it's like Agent Zero, and I'm like, that's.
Yeah, he's a secret agent now.
Okay, either way, that's sort of like how I got out of comics for a little while, because that was like, what was it? It was that, and then it was X-Men Fight the Vampires, and I'm like, oh my god, this is becoming.
To be fair, that's happened a number of times to the X-Men, where they fight the vampires.
Yeah.
It was right in the middle of the Twilight time, and I was like, okay, no, you can't. Please make good books. Don't make cash books.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I wouldn't mind seeing Wolverine beat the shit out of Edward Cullen.
We all.
Anyway,
We gotta figure out who owns that, and Disney needs to buy them today.
all right.
I want it.
Anywho.
So, I don't know how long we've been wrap this up. So, that was Injustice Year 1. I love the living shit out of it. 2 is pretty good. Year 3 is... It's getting a little bit out there. It starts getting into Howard the Duck and Detective Chimp territory, because they've killed off everyone else. Someone's a fan of that.
I love Detective
but
Chimp.
for you. All right, so but for year 1, it's a great book. Even if you have no interest in the video game, if you like comics, if you don't like comics and want to see a bunch of DC heroes get killed, if you want some interesting dialogue moments, if you want superheroes looking at how their behavior will affect the real world, it does that.
If you want to see what might be the worst Wonder Woman ever.
If you hate Wonder Woman and want an excuse to curse at her, this is great.
This will do it.
That's my opinion of it. Nate, Tom, any different, or do we all kind of agree?
No, I agree. This is a stellar book. Check it out.
definitely worth your time.
Nate?
It's
All right,
just what
cool.
you said.
So
like,
we're looking at next week.
Say that again?
Go ahead.
no, go ahead. I'm good.
I was gonna wrap it up because I mean next week we're probably gonna do Civil War Volume 1 depending on how issues go. Actually I might not be available next week, but we'll handle that all. Either way, that's probably gonna be our next thing.
The next episode.
Exactly. All right. Anybody doing anything this week? Tom?
I am watching for a writing assignment. I'm watching the old British TV show Thunderbirds, which is shiny 60s sci-fi but with puppets. 90% of it is watching cool vehicles run around, and it's surprisingly enjoyable. Very weird to sort of get into, but it's really fun. So, yeah.
Awesome.
I guess for me, this week I've decided that I want to whatever. I've decided I picked up the first trade of Neil Gaiman's Sandman series. In my attempt to try to collect all the trades, because I don't know if I ever finished reading all of Sandman, so I'm gonna start rereading Sandman.
Awesome. I have no clue what I'm doing yet. I have a big trip this week, and I'm going to be going to do some biology shit for my actual career. So if anybody needs a biology intern, I like playing around with animals and jumping around in the jungle, so please give me a job. Or, I can just start doing this for money. I'll start for Patreon. All right. So for 4 Reelz Radio, exactly. I'm Kyle.
I'm Nate.
I'm pointing at Nate.
And I'm Tom.
And may the fours be with you or something.
All right, bye.
Stop broadcast.
Bye, everybody.